Thanks for checking in today. I've got my rocket fuel. Today we're talking about roasting your own green coffee bean. We're going to get right to how you can roast your own coffee beans at home. But I wanted to let you know at the end of this video, I'm going to talk about where you can buy green coffee beans, how much they cost, how much money you can save, and some things to watch out for when you're ordering green coffee beans. So stick around for that. Now, a couple of points that you need to be aware of before you start roasting is that there is a certain amount of smell and there is a certain amount of smoke produced with the chaff burning off the beans. So if you don't have a range hood that you can turn on, I would recommend roasting these outdoors. I do not have a range hood, so we will be roasting these outside today on the porch. One thing I have seen people talk about roasting them in the oven. I would not recommend that, and that's because a lot of the chaff will pop and burn off of the beans, and then you'll end up having to wipe out your oven at the end. My recommendations would be to use a cast iron skillet with a whisk to keep the beans moving around so that they don't burn and they roast evenly. Or what I'm going to use today is a stovetop popcorn popper. I'm going to use the Whirly Pop popcorn popper, and hopefully we'll get a nice even roast with that. Since I'm going to be roasting these outside, I am using my single burner that I bought for canning. I've just plugged it in outside, and other things that you're going to need are just 2 colanders and some way to store your roasted coffee beans. I store mine in a glass ball jar with a seal and a ring. You can also buy sealable bags that have a one-way valve for off-gassing. And we'll talk about off-gassing after we're done roasting the beans, so stick around for that because it is an important part. The first thing you want to do is turn your burner on about a medium heat, and you'll have to kind of feel it out the first time. Burners are different, temperatures are different, stovetop temperatures are different, but generally about a medium heat. So I let the popper warm up a bit on the burner before I add my green coffee beans. You want to let it get a little bit hot, so the roasting process starts as soon as you put the beans in, and then you're just going to start turning the handle or using your whisk if you're using an iron skillet. I've weighed out about 8 ounces of green coffee beans. The coffee beans will swell as they roast, and they'll actually end up losing a little bit of weight, maybe like just under an ounce or so of weight as they're roasted. And that's because you're losing some moisture out of the bean as you're roasting it. You will notice a smell that is kind of similar to burned popcorn when the chaff is starting to burn off. It won't really have that really rich coffee aroma until after you blow off the chaff and the beans are cooled. And then once they're cooled, when you smell them, you'll know that that is a really good roasted coffee smell. Now, as far as time is concerned, that just depends on how dark you want your coffee beans. When I roast these indoors, it generally takes about 9 minutes to get to the point where I like them. I like a medium to dark roast. Outside today, about 45 degrees, and so it took about 20 minutes to get it to where I liked it. But so it just kind of depends on your conditions. There are what they call a first crack and a second crack, and it really is cracking. It actually sounds similar to popcorn popping. So the first crack is when you know the coffee beans have gotten to a usable stage for coffee grinding and making coffee. If you like a light to a medium roast, you'll want to stop roasting sometime in between the first crack and the second crack. The first crack usually lasts, it's popping for maybe a minute or a minute and a half, and then there'll be a period of time before the second crack, and to me the second crack is actually a little bit more violent cracking than the first crack. When you get to the second crack, you're getting to a darker roast. You can either pull it off during the second crack or you can wait till it calms down and then pull it off. But you don't want to roast much beyond that or you risk burning the coffee beans. So if you like light to medium roast, let it do a first crack, maybe wait a minute or two and pull it off. And you can also open the lid to the popcorn popper or watch it in the pan. You can tell how dark the beans are getting if you just observe them. So I generally like to pull mine off during the second crack or just right when it's starting to slow down. I apologize for the tractor noise in the background. I don't know if you can hear it here, but it is cracking right now. So now I'm going to go ahead and pull these from the heat, and I'm just going to pour them into the first colander, and you'll be able to see all the chaff flying off at a rapid pace this first pour. You'll want to pour back and forth between the colanders, and if you don't have a breeze that day, you can use like a fan on low, or you could use even a blow dryer on a low setting. To get the chaff to fly off. If there's a tiny bit of chaff left in there, it's fine, but you want to blow that all off as much as possible. So once you've got your beans roasted, you want to lay them out. I just use a paper plate because I only do 8 ounces at a time. And it doesn't take long for them to cool, maybe 20 minutes or so for them to cool. And what you need to know is that these beans will do what's called off-gassing. They will release carbon dioxide during the first 24 to 48 hours. You want that carbon dioxide to go away and you don't want oxygen to come in. Coffee beans' reaction with oxygen is what causes them to start losing their flavor. So that's why when you buy already roasted coffee beans in the store, it has a little one-way valve on the bag. The one-way valve allows the gases to exit and the oxygen to not come in. It's a one-way valve. If you don't have one of those bags, just take a regular canning jar, tighten it just kind of finger tight, maybe a little bit less than finger tight for the first 24 to 48 hours, and then I seal it down. The beans are going to have their best flavor 24 to 48 hours after roasting them. So that's going to be your best cup of coffee. I decided to make shopping for green coffee beans part 2, and there will be a link at the end of this video. We'll be talking about how long green coffee beans can last, where you can buy them, what the cost is like, and some things to look out for when you're shopping online for green coffee beans. See you next time.